Hello and welcome to Survivor Everything. I'm your host Liam, and I know I haven't been uploading much, and I'd like to change that with a new ranking series, starting off with ranking all the US Survivors Fallen Angels. For these videos, Fallen Angels is just referring to the players voted out at the last Tribal Council before Final Tribal Council, or to the person who loses in the Fire Making Challenge before Final Tribal Council. This list may be different to yours, and some choices may be hot takes, and I'm genuinely curious on what your thoughts are on this list and what your own should be in the comments below. With all that, let's start out this list with the worst fallen angels from US Survivor. The player who I believe is the worst fallen angel of all of US Survivor history is Christina Cha, who is a fascinating player to observe. She was on the bottom for almost the majority of the game, and still found herself losing all the way to 4th place, one round before the coveted Final Tribal Council. Christina had aligned herself with Nina, the first woman voted out of Selene, with Christina being the clear next target to go home. Fortunately for Christina though, the all-women Selene tribe wins the next 3 tribal immunity challenges, keeping her safe until the eventual immunity loss that they suffer on day 11. Luckily for Christina, from circumstances outside of her control though, the all-men Monono tribe forfeit their tribal immunity so they can go to tribal council instead, in an unprecedented move that has not been seen since, and for good reason. Christina is again very lucky in a tribe swap that occurs the very next day, allowing her to be put on the new Monono tribe. It's not like she did much better there either, with Christina and Monica now both on the bottom of this new tribe, and Alicia and Colton constantly berating and targeting them. Christina is so undervalued and non-threatening that when Monono goes to tribal council, they take out Monica instead, perceiving her as the bigger threat. Now, the most shocking part about Christina's game is that even after Colton has told Christina to throw herself into the fire and much more, when Colton becomes ill, Christina nurtures and coddles him. I think it's due to the perceived power that Colton has, and even though it shows how mature and nice Christina can be, I don't think I'd ever comfort him, and it makes her look weaker in a social game in my opinion. Once the merge happens, that's when Christina gets a bit of safety, since she reforms their old Selene members to target and eliminate all the original Monono players, and this works out flawlessly for her. She's able to vote with the women, and they constantly split the votes in case of idols, and they make it to Final 5. The reason why Christina's voting rate is so low is not just because she was outside the loop for some of the votes, but it's because she's part of the groups that are splitting the votes, and she's just on the vote that the person isn't going home while the other people are, so their vote's successful and her vote technically isn't. But it's also here where Christina's game starts to crumble again, with Kim, Chelsea, and Sabrina all making a final 3-pact, leaving Christina and Alicia on the outs. And just like with Monica, Alicia is perceived as the bigger threat and then voted out before Christina. And at the final 4 round, Kim does contemplate taking out Chelsea instead of Christina, since Christina would be easier to beat, but Kim sticks to her final 3-pact and votes out Christina after Kim wins her final immunity. Christina's game is a mess, and she controls no agency over herself or anyone else in the game. She's on the bottom for most of it, and is on the wrong side of the votes even when she's in an alliance and they're splitting the votes on 2 people. And Christina just seemed like a pushover, and someone people didn't really respect enough to want to award $1 million to. Christina is the lowest ranking 4th place finisher because she has no final 3 combination that she can beat by any point in this game or even earlier on. Well, the person taking the 47th spot is the person who played on season 47, and it's one of the most recent players that end up so far down this list, and it's Teeny Chirichillo from Survivor 47. Right at the start of the game, Teeny is on the bottom of their tribe, right at the first tribal council, and this is a common theme you'll find with the players who are on the bottom of this ranking list. During the second tribal council, when they think they're voting for Soul, the majority of the votes go for Aisha instead, leaving Teeny on the outs. In the very next round, Teeny loses their vote on Journey, leaving them with no power as they are blindsided again when Teeny and Keyshawn are blindsided when Rome, Genevieve, and Soul send Keyshawn home. Teeny, hurt and confused by their early game so far, makes it to the merge where they are safe for the rest of the game. Safe doesn't mean that they are insulated in a good position though. It just means that no one considers them a threat throughout the entire rest of the game. By the time of the merge, people like Rome, Sam, Sierra, and somehow Soul all have bigger targets on their back. Once Sam lost his position in the game after Sierra was voted out, and his threat levels decreased, all the players realized that the original Becca members had taken control of the game and needed to go, and 3 original Becca members are sent to the jury the following rounds. During all of this, the only other names being thrown out around are Genevieve and Sam, who are perceived threats, and Rachel, a player slowly but surely gaining power and momentum in the game. That third original Becca member to be sent to the jury was supposed to be Rachel, but Andy's Operation Italy plan that he created sent Caroline instead once Rachel won individual immunity that round. With Rachel winning out the following rounds, Andy's Operation Italy makes him the next biggest threat, and then he's voted out, followed by Genevieve. The whole point of this is to show that this entire season's strategic and emotional storyline has nothing to do with Teeny. Teeny has no power during the pre-merge, merge, or late game of the season, and it's just a voting block used the whole time. The only reason why Sue was dragged to the end by Rachel compared to Teeny, who was thrown in a fire, is that because Sue allied up with Rachel during the merge when they were both on the bottom, and Teeny came in after, which technically is just another knock against Teeny's game for not taking the initiative to make these alliances that Rachel did. If Teeny had beat Sam and Fire and sat next to Rachel and Sue at Final Tribal Council, it would have been a unanimous vote for Rachel to win. Teeny can't beat anybody by even the merge maybe, and they deserve the slaw as the second worst Fallen Angel of all of US Survivor. What can I say about this bottom third ranking Fallen Angel other than she hates Bruce and she hates trying to win this game, and it's Katurah Tops from Survivor 45. Katurah doesn't even have a season overview of her game on the Survivor Wiki. This is how little of an impact she had on Survivor 45, and to be fair, Teeny doesn't have a season overview either. Katurah was originally on the Bellow tribe before being swapped with the new Lulu tribe, and both their pre-merge tribes never won the tribal council. Most people would be happy about this. People like Michelle even won the game and using this part of her argument. The only issue is that she had a one-sided feud brewing with Bruce, who had just kept boiling from day one since Bruce was on both her original and swap pre-merge tribes. To make it even worse, Bruce was the 5th person voted out the merge, so she just had to sit there and hate on this guy until she could get rid of him. Now, this is important to bring up because even though she doesn't have a season overview, she does have a player summary, and on the Survivor Wiki, or even just look her up on Google, it has to bring up that she hates Bruce so much that she'll try to get rid of him to the detriment of her own game, and this is very much true. During the second round of the merge, Katurah had a chance to take out a member of the Reba 4, an alliance that was starting and would continue to systematically vote out the entirety of the original Bellow, one by one, only taking a break to vote out Caleb in between the Bella Massacre. Now, during the second round of the merge, it's a split tribal council, and this gives the underdogs somewhat of an advantage, because Jake is able to form a plan of gathering himself, Katurah, and Caleb, and targeting Julie, the mother figure of Reba 4, while the 3 remaining Reba members all vote for Caleb, the biggest target of the bottom 3. This will force a tie, and though there is a risk of a deadlock in going to Rocks, Jake makes the correct read in that Austin will not go to Rocks to the likes of Julie, and he would flip to vote her out to keep himself safe in the game. Katurah, who agrees with this plan, also decides to get cold feet at the last minute and votes alongside the Reba 4, the Power Alliance, and taking out Caleb, blindsiding both him and Jake. After this, Katurah is blindsided by the following round when the Reba 4 when they vote out the Bellow leader and Kelly. Then she isn't able to vote the next round as the Reba 4 take out Kendra. That's 2 Bella members gone. And then in another detrimental move that hurts Katurah's game, she decides to be the spiritual 5th Reba member once more, join them once again to take out her arch nemesis and Bruce, and while dwindling her original tribe members and her chances of winning the game all at the same time. That following round, she tries to take out Julie with the Reba boys, and fails in the move as well once Julie plays an idol on herself, and then Katurah just goes back to voting with the original Reba Alliance again. She never actually tries to help herself in the game, and when she does, her only good move in attempting to take Julie out, she is blindsided there again, and even at that point, Julie should have been gone if she would just listen to Jake. The final nail in the coffin is at the final 5 when Jake comes up with another plan to take out Julie with his hidden idol, and he brings it up to Katurah. Now, Katurah, in her actual next best game move, suggests and convinces Jake to change the target from Julie to D, who is the clear frontrunner to win this game and even the next immunity challenge. This plan is foolproof. They have the numbers and they can cause a split vote to go their way with this idol. And at the last second, Katurah changes her vote again to Julie. Katurah says the reason for this is that she thinks that the Reba 3 are going to unanimously vote for her, but throwing a single vote on Julie while Jake throws a single vote on D won't change anything. Maybe she knows Austin will vote for Julie, and if she does as well, it's a 2-2-1 split vote between her and Julie, and then she has to hope that Austin would rather flip and make it a 2-1 against Julie instead of go to Rocks. But this is the same exact plan that Jake had during the second round of the merge, so why not just do it then? It also would have been smarter to do it then, because the only person at risk of going home at that round is Caleb and Julie, not Katurah and Julie, so I don't know why she's doing this. And I get Jake didn't tell Katurah that he was going to play the idol on her, but if this info gets leaked back to the Reba 3, they know just to target and vote out Jake instead like they're going to before Austin learned about the idol in the first place. Katurah betrayed Jake's trust before, not the other way around, so she just should have more leeway for him hiding info that can get him voted out from her. This entire Final 5 round is baffling for Katurah, and her gameplay and mindset during this specific round encompasses how bad her strategical game is just in general. She has no winning option against anyone by the final 7 it seems, and though she doesn't have a single vote casted throughout the entire game until she was eliminated at the Final 4 firemaking, that's because she wasn't even a threat during the merge to be targeted compared to her fellow Bellow tribe members. I have Katura above Teeny because Katura controlled more power, not going to Tribal Council pre-merge, and then afterwards just sticking with the Reba 4. But that power meant nothing because all it did was keep her safe and never gave her the option to win. She is above Teeny because Teeny was more lost in the game, but Katura is not much above Teeny. Alright, now this might be the first hot take, and I'm not sure if it is or not. And this person was going to be a little bit higher on the list. Still thought it was going to be on the bottom of the rankings, but I didn't think they were going to be this low. And that's Sundra Oakley from Survivor Cook Island. Sundra started off on the bottom of her original tribe. You're going to be hearing that a lot. With her being the initial target, until she was able to make it a 3-2 vote in her favor to keep her in. After her first tribal council, there is a tribe swap, and Sundra's put into the new I2 Taiki tribe, along with Yule, Ozzy, and Becky. During this round, Sundra and her group attempt to get Becky voted out, with Ozzy siding with Sundra, but Yule, Becky, and the Majority Alliance make it a 5-3 vote to keep Becky in the game and send home Celia instead. Surprisingly, for Sundra being this low on the list, this is the only vote she is out in the majority on, but she never has true power while she's in these majority groups. The real reason why Sundra gets so far in the game is due to a mutiny that happens before the merge, and unlike Thailand, people actually decide to jump ship, with Jonathan and Candace leaving the I2 tribe to join Rarotonga. Now, this mutiny forces Sundry, Becky, Yule, and Ozzy to form the I2-4 out of desperation against the majority Raro tribe. And the I2 proceed to dominate the rest of the pre-merge challenges. Once the merge hits, it's Ozzy's dominant immunity run and Yule's Godfather playing style, using a super idol for fear and control of other players that allowed the I2-4 to cause Jonathan to flip back to them and take over the game. It is Yule's deal with Adam that is able to get Jonathan out after. By the time of the final 5, minimum, and it can go further back, maybe even final 6, 7. But Sundra was never getting votes here. She was never winning. And by final 4, out of the 3 remaining players, Sundra had the least agency and control. We even see that Becky has more power than Sundra during Sundra's second tribal council where she fails to vote out Becky, as well as during the auction where Becky's the vocal one about Yule's idol and the power it has. And I'm talking about Becky here since she is a better version of Sundra with better gameplay, and she still receives no votes at the end because it's only a race between Ozzy and Yule who's going to win this game. Another thing here is that Sundra might have been safe and insulated in this tribe, again with no power, something you're going to see a lot here as well, and I have her above 3 other people, but she is this low because she pretty much stayed in the game due to luck. Sundra couldn't control the mutiny, Sundra couldn't control how good Ozzy was at that challenges, Sundra couldn't control that this season had a super idol and that Yule, one of our alliance members, had it, Sundra couldn't control the bottle twist. There are so many things outside of Sundra's control that just got lucky for her. And that's just all it was. It's just other people's gameplay, other productions' twists. These things came in to save her. But if this had just been, a Thailand type situation, even a Pearl Islands, pretty sure there was a mutiny there they just didn't show because nothing happened. But if they had a mutiny and there was no idols, no advantages, and it just would have been this swap, she would have been taken out at one point because Yule doesn't have the idol to threaten people with. And Ozzy might be able to stay in the game, and so may is Yule, but these people are going to leave because the majority of Raro is just going to pagana them. That's what's going to happen. Sundra is on the bottom here, not because she was safe, because outside circumstances kept her in the game for so long. Getting ranked number 44, all these bottom players right now literally had no chance of winning any combinations by the final voting rounds. Some of them just played a little bit better than others, and Aaron Lundell from Survivor Token Teens just barely that. Aaron is a player who you could easily see leaving during the pre-merge of the game, as she was looked down on by Tyson, and soon Coach would be doing the same. Luckily for her, she was on the Tibera tribe, which won most of the tribal immunity challenges in the pre-merge phase. Unluckily for Aaron, her closest ally in Joa's medevaced the game right at the merge, leaving her in a dire spot. But she was also able to find herself in a new alliance with her, Debbie, Tyson, Coach, and joining Taj, Steven, and JT, in order to blindside the 2 powerhouses in Brenda and Sierra. This plan goes off successfully, and then she joins the remaining Jalapal 3 in order to take out the remaining original Tibera members she worked with. By the time the Final 4 comes around, and even before then, Erin just can't win this game. She didn't garner the respect of the players around her, and all of her moves were to help other people out. And at that point, it feels like she just jumped from the bottom of original Tibera to the bottom of Jalapal 3, and she's still the lowest ranking player still left in the game. She can't align with Debbie and Tyson and Coach since they will all vote her out once everyone else goes. And we see that when she joins Jalapal 3, she's on the bottom of that alliance too. By the time the Final 4 comes around, she can't beat any of the Jalapal 3, and she only makes it to Final 3 due to Steven and JT considering Taj to be a much bigger jury threat than Aaron. and by the final 3, both GT and Steven contemplate betraying each other to take Erin to final tribal council, since both of them know they could beat her easily in jury votes. Erin is the majority alliance for majority of the game, and she's voting correctly a lot of the time. But she's also the bottom of every alliance she joins, and she can't beat anybody at the final 4 that she decides to roll with, and she can't even beat anybody pretty much from the merge on. Erin is one of the worst penultimate players I've ever seen, and she deserves this spot wholeheartedly. I hope you enjoy the phrase Navidi Strawn, since our 4th place finisher encompasses that with Angela Perkins from Survivor Ghost Island. Talk about a follower. At the start of the game, she was on the original Navidi tribe with Chris, Dominic, Wendell, Morgan, and a few others. By the 3rd round of the game, though, she has swapped on the new Navidi tribe, and so are Chris, Dominic, Wendell, and Morgan, along with 4 former Malolo tribes. This gave the original Navidi tribe the advantage until Chris was sent to Ghost Island and couldn't participate at Tribal Council, making it 4 original Navidi versus 4 original Malolo. Angela, the star of this story, tries to convince her original tribe mates to target Libby of the original Malolo tribe, but Wendell, Morgan, and Dominic don't trust Angela. The original Navidi members would rather feed Angela to the Malolo wolves instead of risking a tie and going to a rock draw. So the 3 of them go to the 4 Malolos and say that Angela will be targeting Libby, and they'll side with them unanimously to vote out Angela, so no bad blood will be formed. This treaty backfires though on the 3, and Malolos take advantage of the split vote that they know is going to happen and take out Morgan. But Angela sees that the only people that voted for her that round were the original Navidi members. After this, she does side with the original Malolos here, giving them a now 5-3 numbers advantage. But Angela is never able to use his powers since the tribe wins immunity until it's swapped again. And even if they had gone to tribal council, she's just riding the Malolo coattails at that point. By the time of the merge, Angela believes she is part of a coup to take down Libby, the girl she's been trying to get rid of since her first tribal council, but she's blindsided again and Chris is sent to the jury instead. I find it funny how the show portrays her as wanting to learn and play harder from this blind side, only for her to continue participating in Wendell and Dominic's plans to bring original Navidi and Laurel on to the end. It is in this round too that she wins individual immunity, but it was a gross fooding challenge, so it wasn't the biggest feat in the world. Angela loses her vote on Ghost Island at one point and is blindsided during the Desiree Boo, which she couldn't even participate on, and then is blindsided again when another failed coup occurs when she attempts to have the girls vote out Wendell, only for Laurel to snitch on the plan. Sticking with Navidi Strawn now, they forgive Angela and use her as a voting block to vote out the rest, and by Final 4, Angela is set into fire to try to defeat Wendell because Dominic believes that sitting next to Angela and Laurel meant that he wins the game, and to be fair, that's true. Angela, just like the rest of the game, fails in firemaking though, and she is sent to the jury. Angela was used the whole time, and I could barely even remember what she had done throughout the season, but it's also Ghost Island, so it was just not a memorable season at all to begin with. Angela tries to pull off her own moves at least 3 different times minimum, and I'll give her credit for that. It's more than what the people below her do. But she fails miserably every single time. She has no social capital to persuade people, and she seems to either join the wrong alliances and people like Chris, or she brings in people like Laurel to her plans who will snitch, or she places herself in the bottom of majority alliances to be dragged or easily cut loose, just like we saw at the Final 4 Firemaking Challenge. I'd say that more people would... I would say that more people would vote for Angela to win compared to Laurel, since Angela did try to shake up the status quo. And I would put Laurel lower on this list as she had been the 4th place finisher, even though Laurel technically is the final member of the jury. But Angela would still be on the bottom tier of this list as well, even if Laurel would be behind her. Now, another bottom pick that could be a hot take, I'm not sure if it is or not, but I have Cara K from Survivor David vs. Goliath as one of my bottom fallen angels. Cara, I find, is only saved in the pre-merge due to circumstances that she didn't have full control of. Immediately, she finds herself in a very public showmance with Dan, and is only really not targeted due to Natalie and Jeremy's constant bickering and isolating personalities. Because of this, for the first and only time pre-swap Goliath tribe goes to tribal council, they all vote out Jeremy. Without the infighting from those 2 players who use a shield though, the Goliaths could have just gone to tribal council and had targeted him breaking up the showmance. And I believe they keep Dan due to his child's prowess, and that they could start him having an idol, which he does, so Cara would go home in that scenario. And with Jeremy gone, no more constant fighting, the tribe sites should be on the showmance now, but luckily, there's a tribe swap. Cara swapped on the new Vuka tribe with 2 other Goliaths, but Alec being one of them, flips on his original tribe and votes with the original Davids and voting out Natalia, leaving Cara back on the bottom. Her gameplay on the bottom isn't much better here either, and luckily for her, she never goes back to tribal council during the pre-merge, because she would have been the target. This was just a rocky early game from her in general, but she has found herself reconnecting with the original Goliaths as they have the numbers advantage compared to the original Davids, and they can just pick on him. Kara's close relationships with Dan also allowed her to learn about his second idol he had found, so Kara has full confidence in the Goliaths taking on this game over now, and David being the first player sent to the jury at the merge vote just solidifies this. The only issue is that the Davids pull off 3 back-to-back amazing rounds, and they take control of the game temporarily, putting Kara back on the bottom. It's only due to the efforts of the other Goliaths, especially Mike, that the game turns the tides back in the Goliaths' favor until they vote out every other David left in the game, except for Nick, who wins out till the end. This is also where Kara just can't win from. All the Goliaths need to eliminate all the Davids before Tribal Council because they're all strong players with good stories that made moves. As well, Kara needs to have a final Tribal Council of maybe Angela and Gabby, maybe, or I think maybe more of Angela and Allison. But even then, I don't think Kara can win from the final 9 on. Carter's is in a really bad position from the start of the game, pretty much the merge, as she's just dragged to the end because she's not a threat compared to everybody else. I really debated who was going to be in this 41st spot, but I decided this spot was also going to go to the first guy to appear on this list, and it's Keith Fammy. From the most popular season of the show, Survivor the Australian Outback. Keith has a very successful game from start to finish, and even when he goes to Tribal Council as a target to go home, he is either always voting with the majority, keeping himself safe the whole time, or he holistically sets himself up to be safe no matter what. The issue with Keith is that even though he was a decent challenge player, he was a horrible social player. Keith was already the oldest man on Ogre Corps, and he soon showed himself to be the hardest to get along with as well, especially with Jerry. To be fair to Keith, people were getting annoyed with Jerry as well. Keith should have been destined to go home early in the pre-merge, and it doesn't help that Ogre Corps goes to Tribal Council 3 out of 5 times during the pre-merge phase of the game. But before the tribe's first time going to Tribal Council, Ogre Corps had caught Kel eating what he had claimed was bark, but Jerry claims was beef jerky, which it most likely was. This portrayal of sneaking food puts the target on Kel, and he's unanimously voted out during that Tribal Council. During the very next round, and the second immunity challenge loss in a row, the majority of Ogre Corps vote for the oldest player in the entire game, sending Marilyn home. The hilarious thing about this round is that Keith, being stubborn, votes for Mitchell instead on his own, saving his own high in the following round. The only other person voting outside the majority being Marilyn that round, who votes for Jerry, but Marilyn voting for Jerry shows just how Jerry is just as divisive as Keith is. With a clear feud brewing, Jerry says out loud who in Ogre Corps is a part of her alliance, with Keith and Tina not being present on that list. This forces the two of them to team up, while Kobe tags along due to his disdain of Jerry building up. This now changes Jerry's 4-person alliance into a 3-person alliance, and at Tribal Council, there's a 3-3 split vote with Mitchell and Keith being the targets to go home. Once another tie happens and it's a deadlock, Keith's sole vote on Mitchell the previous round breaks the tie to send Mitchell home. Even if this were a rock draw tiebreaker rules and not the original tiebreaker rules, Keith wouldn't be one of the 2 players drawing rocks and he'd be safe in this tie scenario as well. And after that round, even if Keith is the target, he is just safe since he is always protected by voting with the majority, while the majority just tells him who to vote for though. And that's the issue with Keith's game, since he never makes any personal bonds or social moves to gain social capital and use it to take control of the game. This season already wasn't just a pure begoning, and Keith should have used that to his advantage. At the final 8 round, Nick wins immunity, taking the target off his back and also keeps the necklace off Kobe's neck. This is important since Kobe will go on an immunity run and win the next 5 individual immunity challenges with no chance of getting rid of him. Since Ogre Corps is about to betray one of their own here already in Jerry, Keith should just convince the rest of Kucha that Kobe is a strong threat to take out, and he can convince Jerry that Kobe doesn't like her and vote him out, and Amber will follow. He needs to get Kobe out here, and in doing so, Keith also becomes the next biggest challenge threat, with him already winning the first 2 individual immunity challenges to begin with. He then can make a final 3 alliance with himself, Amber, and Jerry, and hopefully make it to final 2 with Jerry to beat her. The issue is that Keith was never going to have the killer instinct to pull off this move, and maybe never the social capital either. Plus, he'd have to persuade Jerry and Amber to initially flip with him, and I think using Kobe to hurt Jerry would do this, but I don't know if he can keep her on his side after this initial move. But after Keith sticks with the majority and votes out Jerry at the final 8, he has no chance of winning sitting next to any remaining players left in the game. The best Keith had going for him was being the show's first ever GOAT, but even Kobe wouldn't give him that honor. Other than that though, Keith was safe the whole time, got his way with the Mitchell vote the second time around, and even won more individual immunities than anyone below him. Unfortunately, there's no world where he wins any jury votes after the final 8 round, and his only real power after that is sticking with Tina and Kobe as a voting block, so I can't put him any higher. There it is, the worst fallen angels from Survivor US history. Join me next time where I'll be talking about the worst fallen angels going from rank number 40 to 31. Everybody grab your torches. I'll see you in the next one.